Channel 9 News.
And we're your hosts, Nick and Raj. Breaking news!
The Republican Party and President Donald Trump are back at it again with their new GOP tax bill, the biggest approved tax bill ever. The tax bill is planned to cut individual taxes, corporate taxes, and get rid of the popular tax breaks. However, it is going to add a $1.5 trillion deficit. Lowering taxes for American businesses and families is the heart of President Donald Trump's plan to boost the economy, although not everyone's getting a tax cut in the plan.
On Saturday, December 2nd, 1:51 Eastern Time in the morning, the Senate approved the passing of the Republican tax plan. The 100 senators who voted 51 votes to approve it and 49 to not pass it. The Republicans can lose no more than 2 of the 51 members. Tennessee Senator Bob Corker decided to go against the political party and against the Republican bill.
This new approved bill is going to be helpful for everything, not just the wealthy and the businesses. The Tax Cut and Jobs Act is more than a tax bill. It makes sweeping changes to healthcare that are expected to lead to 13 million Americans dropping insurance, and it opens up more land to oil drilling in Alaska. It also alters the treatment of state and local taxes, which could affect local government budgets.
And now to
Abraham and Jose.
Hi, my name is Abraham Martinez.
I'm Jose Zarza.
In continuation, the most recent review of the bill by the Joint Committee of Taxation found that only 44% of the taxpayers would see their burden reduced by more than $500 in 2019, but high earners would fare much better than the poor under the bill.
Republican negotiators, as of Tuesday evening, were looking to drop the corporate tax rate from 35% to 21%. A slight upstick in the 20% proposed allowing pass-through owners to deduct 17.4% of their income from their taxes and then pay taxes on the remaining income. Senator Ron Johnson and Steve Daines argued for days that this was not generous enough for these businesses, and GOP leaders reluctantly raised the deduction level to 20%, which added roughly $60 billion to the.
The bill reduces the corporate tax rate from 35% to 20%, and the rate for pass-through businesses down to 25% with some restrictions. Many families would also pay less, although Paul Ryan, the House of GOP speakers, had admitted that won't be the case for everyone. Here's a rundown of what is actually in the final version of the bill that passed.
And back to our co-anchors, Nick and Raj.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Abraham and Jose. While optimistic the bill would still pass, members acknowledged uncertainty, joking that they still weren't set on travel plans to head home for the weekend. "I got plenty of flights booked," Johnson joked, noting that he would still book several plans home from the Southwest and prepared to cancel whatever he did not need.
The House also had tax plan, however, it was denied. They chose a Senate bill the size of an expanded child tax credit, which was larger and able to be claimed by families much higher up in the income scale. In the Senate bill, the treatment of pass-through owners who received a large deduction in the Senate bill but would have paid a reduced tax rate of no more than 25% in the House bill, and fundamental differences in the shape of a revamped system for taxing the profits of multinational corporations. The House also eliminated a host of individual tax breaks, including the ability to deduct student loan interest and medical expenses.
In short, the bill doesn't deliver on growth. It produces lots of debt, which the very rich have primary beneficiaries. That's all, Channel 9 News. Thank you for watching.
Till next time.
On BD.
We're on the cusp of a great victory for the country.
The battle over the Senate Republican tax bill hitting a snag in the 11th hour. Retiring Senator Bob Corker withholding his vote Thursday after a new report by the Joint Committee on Taxation estimates the bill would increase the deficit by $1 trillion over 10 years and would not produce enough revenue to offset the cost of the plan. Corker demanding a trigger to automatically raise taxes if the bill fails to generate as much economic growth as promised. But the Senate rule keeper declaring such a proposal would not be allowed as written. A showdown unfolding on the Senate floor as a group of Republican senators huddled around holdouts Corker, Jeff Flake, and Ron Johnson.
I submitted a very simple amendment that simply said, send the bill back to the Finance Committee and have them report back a deficit-neutral bill, a bill that doesn't blow a hole in the deficit. To call this a circus would be an insult to circuses.
Republicans now scrambling to appease deficit hawks. Senator Lindsey Graham acknowledging Corker's concerns are real, but adding failure's not an option, as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell can only afford to lose 2 Republican votes. This as Senator Elizabeth Warren demanding to see the Treasury Department's economic analysis after Steve Mnuchin promised the American people this.
We think there'll be $2 trillion of growth. So we think this tax plan will cut down the deficits by $1 trillion. That's a large number.
The Treasury's Inspector General launching a probe after receiving this letter from Warren, questioning whether Mnuchin misled the public or refuses to release the report because those analyses would contradict the Treasury Secretary's claims.
It's almost criminal. It's a lethal attack on the middle class.
Democrats continue to hammer the GOP tax plan, asserting the bill will hurt lower-income Americans while benefiting the wealthy. The Congressional Budget Office predicts those earning less than $30,000 will be worse off by 2019, and those making less than $75,000 worse off by 2027. Removing Obamacare's individual mandate would also result in 13 million fewer Americans having health coverage over the next decade.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As you know, this is one of the most important pieces of legislation to come before this committee in recent years. And I have to tell you that I am extremely disappointed that you have allocated only 15 minutes for debate. And that means that there are 11 Republicans on your side, 10 Democrats on my side, who will not have the opportunity to give their opinions about this bill before a vote is cast. That is wrong, and it is wrong that the Budget Committee has not yet held a single hearing on this tax bill, not one. But I have to say that I do understand why the Budget Committee, and in fact the Finance Committee, has been so reluctant to hold public hearings to engage the American people in this debate. And that is because this legislation is a disastrous and unfair piece of legislation which gives huge tax breaks to the people who need it the least, the very, very wealthy. It raises taxes on millions of middle-class families at a time when the middle class is struggling. It leaves 13 million more Americans without health insurance, while raising premiums 10% a year when we're already paying far higher prices for health care than any other country on earth. It raises the deficit by $1.4 trillion. You know, how many hours have I sat here and have you sat there? And we've seen all the charts and all the discussions about how terrible the deficit is, what it means, leaving this burden to our kids and our grandchildren.